Hello, Rachel.
Hey.
All right. So today I want to interview you for PTSD, and you can be as discreet or open about this as you'd like, as much as you're comfortable with. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And I'm just gonna jump right into question number one.
Okay.
And I want to know first of all, how many years have passed since this traumatic event?
14 years.
14. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
do you have difficulties remembering the trauma/event?
Yes, I kind of do now.
Yeah, I can believe it. Do you ever get flashbacks of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
as often as I used to.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely still do.
Gotcha. Um, do you have thoughts about the event that are intrusive to daily activities? It's probably gotten better by now, but have you ever had that?
I would say initially, the first couple of years, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
Not so much now, just because I've learned some different coping strategies and done some counseling
Yeah.
that's been helpful to that.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, does this affect your sleep patterns, or has it ever? Maybe I should say.
Initially, yes, it did. Not so much anymore, but the first couple of years, I would dream about the event that happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I would play that over and over and over in my dreams.
Mm,
Um, so, yeah.
yeah. Makes sense. Um, how has the trauma affected your relationships, if it has? Such as, like wanting to stay home, does it affect friendships, marriage, or does it like affect going out to social situations, etc.?
Yeah, initially it absolutely affected the way that I socially.
Mm-hmm.
So I had such terrible anxiety um, that I had to drop out of school. I couldn't go out with friends and do a lot of things. I had to stay home. It doesn't affect me as much now as it did then, but it was a pretty big deal for I would say really the first 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Um, how has the trauma affected your interest in any leisure activities, if any?
Um,
I guess you can also like attribute that to social situations if that is leisure to you, maybe.
yeah, that would be leisure for me. I would say just isolation. I kept myself pretty isolated
Yeah.
during that time.
Was that because of like triggers, would you say, or just the emotional side of it that just kept you isolated?
I would say a bit of both.
Yeah.
So if I would be around um, friends with their or um, on the other hand, emotional as in just kind of working through that and just kind of like having those emotions come up.
Hmm.
So it was a little bit of both, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Definitely makes sense. Um,
And
I don't
even
know.
to the point where like if someone would talk about like I never worried about my parents like passing away before my dad did. And so,
Yeah.
like, even to the point where, like, see something on the news, or like if my friend would talk about how they had a parent that was sick, it was like, it would kind of like I would worry. And I'd like begin to worry about my mom and like, oh, I hope, nothing happens to her. I hope that she doesn't. So,
Sure. Yeah, I could definitely see how that would affect the relationships, like you said again.
mhm.
This one's probably a different kind of trauma, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you have difficulty with loud noises? Are they any kind of trigger for you?
The sound of an ambulance.
Really? That's,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I could totally
Yep.
see how it would be.
Yep.
That's an interesting one. Um, Do you avoid certain people or places in relation to this disorder?
Initially I did. Not so much anymore. I would avoid places that would kind of be a reminder to me, like the house that my dad passed was a huge trigger for me. That's where he died, and so being there was just like, even being in that room was a trigger for me. For the first, I would say, 2 years after that, I had to sleep in my mom's room. Well, a year and a half, I had to sleep with my mom in her room because I just couldn't be in that home alone, like by myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, couldn't be left in the house by myself.
Yeah. Ugh, yeah, I
I don't know
bet.
if that's a question or not, but
No, it does, yeah. Um, have you noticed any physical symptoms related to your condition, like chest pain, sweating, breathing heavily, in relation to the event, maybe?
absolutely. I would say anxiety attacks,
Yeah.
situational depression.
Mhm.
Um, trying to think, physical. Just the side effects that come along with having anxiety and depression, and you know, rapid heartbeat, sweating, not being able to sleep well, my appetite, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that kind of answers this next one. Um, do you experience anxiety in certain situations due to the disorder? So, branching on what you had just a second ago, any certain situations that triggers that maybe?
Uh, Not that I can think of, really.
Yeah, I didn't think so. How about has it affected your work slash choice of career?
I guess to some degree it has.
I mean, you're going into healthcare. I wonder if that has anything.
Yeah, yeah, I have just a sensitivity to people, and their struggles, whatever they may be. And so I definitely think that that has directly come from what I've been through in my life.
Yeah,
I don't think that I would be as sensitive of a person as I am had I not gone through those things. So yeah, I definitely think that it has.
yeah, that's a good answer. Are there any situations which trigger an intense response to the disorder?
In the beginning, yes. There would be almost like these outbursts, and just kind of emotional breakdowns, not like a normal breakdown, of more extreme, where I would almost kind of lose control of, almost like not blackout, but just I would be out of control in the situation, if that makes sense. So I'd
Yeah,
get so upset, so worked up that I would say things and do things and then not remember them. And
yeah.
once I had calmed down. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Has your
but not
attention?
so much anymore.
Yeah. Initially, it was like that. I
Mhm.
could believe it. Has your attention span been affected by the trauma slash event?
Absolutely.
Really?
Um, yeah.
Okay.
And especially in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. How do your symptoms affect your decisions to communicate with others slash be social?
Um,
If it does at all. I could see maybe it not affecting you at all.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it does really.
Yeah. Have you experienced depression and has it affected any aspects of your life? I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yes, I have. It's affected my relationships, with friends and family. It's affected, I guess maybe. my schooling to some degree.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Has your symptoms from PTSD affected your appetite or meal preparation? Say how you feed yourself. Is it mac and cheese every night, or do you cook? That kind of thing.
I would say it's definitely affected my appetite, but not how I feed myself.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely has to do with depression as well, I would say, if it was initially.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever gotten professional help for your symptoms? I think you mentioned you got some kind of treatment, counseling.
Yes. So I did counseling. I worked with a psychiatrist and a psychologist together, and they did a lot of different therapy with me that was very beneficial and helpful.
Yeah, I can tell. Um, if you have affected sleep patterns due to the disorder, how has this affected your daily functioning, say in work, school, if at all?
I would say, just not getting enough sleep at night and not getting good sleep definitely affected just how I went about my day and the things that I did, like, or doing within my day. If you're not getting good sleep, you're not gonna, be
Function as well as you should.
in your roles and things.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Are you easily startled, or do you get anxiety in certain situations related to the event or disorder?
I do actually. I kind of have a little bit of what I would consider kind of like shutdown moments if I am around someone um, who, like, I recently was around a family member that had a seizure, and that was very similar to
What happened?
what it looked like having when he had his aneurysm. And so it that kind of, I mean, it totally threw me off. It's almost like I freeze in moments like that where I'm just kind of like, okay. And that definitely takes me back to that
The event.
moment. Yeah.
Well, that's the last of my formal questions. Just for a closure here, what kind of treatment did you receive? I know you went into that psychologist and what was the other one? Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. Yeah.
And obviously you made
So
progress to get where you are today. So just wondering about that.
yeah. So that was like 10 years ago almost now. I'm trying to think back to what type of therapy. And I don't know exactly, like, I know there are a lot of things we worked on. Some of the things that we worked on specifically were um, working through the event in itself, kind of like step by step. Because that in itself was difficult for me to even just face that, like to be able to, you know.
But you wouldn't
We
say
came
it
up.
was exposure therapy or anything, probably, because I don't think you could, honestly.
No, we didn't do exposure therapy. Some of the other things we did were like trying to help me find ways to cope. So like different like calming strategies were used with me. So I would make like a bag or a box or something, and I would put it in my car or in my room or just in my purse. And those would be different things that were helpful to me. So like a picture of my cat
Oh,
or like a little piece of my blanket, just different things. Lavender, I'd have like a little
yeah.
lavender bottle, just different things that were like a comfort to me and that would help me in those times when I would kind of have like a come apart breakdown moment where I could just kind of come back to reality and kind of center myself a little bit.
That
I mean,
is
I
super.
don't really know the technical names of the therapy that they, you know what I mean, that they
Yeah,
used with me.
yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah, I was just curious about that.
The other one I can think of is we got to a point where we were working on, she would have me close my eyes and like picture a situation, like an event with my dad, like either a conversation or something that would happen. And I think that was kind of to redirect my focus off of his death and
Mm-hmm.
onto him as an individual.
Yeah.
Because when I thought of him, that was all that I thought about was,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, him
I can
dying
totally see
instead
that.
of, yeah.
That's an interesting method. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely research some about that, but yeah, I was just curious what kind of methods they used for this
Yeah.
certain PTSD of this event, instead of say combat PTSD or something. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, thank you, Miss Rachel, for opening up to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and stop recording for our purposes. Okay.
Okay.